Thank you for joining our latest LEAP episode. Today we had the opportunity to travel down to Philadelphia and visit Temple University. And while we were on campus there, we sat down with three of their supply chain logistics majors, Byron, Rosie, and Ann. And we talked to them about their education, how they were learning about logistics in a classroom setting. We then pivoted to their internship experience and how that experience translated into a practical application of what they were learning at school. And then we talked about their interest in the career of logistics, and they shared some interesting advice for prospective high school students who were seeking a degree in transportation or logistics. So we hope you find this interview entertaining and engaging, and please comment on the video if you'd like. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in it. You can kind of go industrial route, being on like a terminal or like a port, things of that nature, or it can kind of be corporate, do supply chain planning and procurement. So that's why I chose supply chain.
Excellent.
For me, I actually started out as an international business major. Just knew I wanted to do business internationally, I guess. Figured out like it wasn't really for me, but I still wanted that worldwide experience. So one of my friends actually told me about supply chain. Joined the Temple Association in my sophomore year, got really involved. Loved how it's different every day, challenging, problem solving, and I just love the work behind the scenes. Like you're not in the spotlight, but you are moving those products, and you are like the main source of why everything gets to where it is.
Excellent.
For me, I'm more of a practical person. I like logical thinking. So I really like all the Excel and math and problem solving behind supply chain. Well, I was a marketing major, but transitioning to supply chain, I saw that there were more opportunities. I can transition to any other departments or industries because all industries need a supply chain person. And it's also because my parents have a manufacturing company, so I'll be a value-added employee.
Yeah, I would go with my capstone class, sourcing and procurement. So it wasn't like a regular class, like read a textbook and then do an exam after that. It was more so a big project. So basically, we had to create a product. We had to kind of find the sources and ingredients. So we had to do scorecards and everything, trying to pick out the suppliers and then the transportation options and also the quality of the product and kind of weigh out our options and pick the right source for our ingredients, things of that nature, to go in a product. So I think that project kind of really diving into what people are thinking about when they're doing sourcing and procurement and then kind of making our product based on our decisions and costs, things of that nature. That's probably my favorite class so far.
Yeah, like going back off of that, I'm in that class right now, and we just had a project. Our second assignment is to evaluate all of our raw materials into the acrylic matrix. So that was really interesting, being able to do a deep dive on everything that we're sourcing. Additionally, I took the Lean Six Sigma class. I found that really helpful. It was just about how can we make processes the most efficient. Got to have a certificate in that by the end of the class. So now Byron actually was in that class, so now we're both yellow belt certified, which is really nice to add to the resume as well.
That's excellent. You got that opportunity as an undergrad, coming into the professional industry with that already under your belt, pardon the pun. But yeah, wonderful to hear that Temple offers that.
Yeah.
I'm a junior, so I haven't taken any of the
kind of a precursor to the future. Yeah.
I'm currently taking transportation and inventory management. I really enjoy the transportation class because it helps me see the importance behind all the transportation modes that help the economy of a nation thrives, and how you can kind of see it from a micro perspective, how that like really helps your business cut cost and improve profitability. And also, I think not just the supply chain classes, but my marketing capstone and my business capstones also play into, also tackle supply chain from a different angle, in that for my business capstone class, I just went through a case study about Aritzia during the supply chain, how they experienced disruptions, and how they were weighing between still going with their physical locations and using that location to kind of like take away the pressure, the burden of having a lot of inventory in their distribution centers.
Yeah.
So it was a good experience that ties into supply chain.
Definitely, back to the sourcing and procurement project, I had certain backgrounds in internships, and then my team members also had certain internship and experience, things of that nature. Some had experience in procurement. I personally had experience in transportation distribution. So when weighing out the scorecards of our suppliers, I was kind of able to, gauge better the transportation methods that they had available to them. He was better at the procurement part of it. So I think that collaborating on different experiences and our internships can help us out with the project.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me personally, like working in teams, you never know what's going to happen in the team, if they're going to be a team player, if you're going to have to carry the team. Especially this semester, all my classes require that teamwork, procurement. We have a UX design class. Like I'm also a minor in management information systems, so I loved that pair because you're always working with technology and systems of like in manufacturing, so it's really important that we understand how those softwares operate. So this working with others, being able to see the different personalities, the different mechanisms of what works for them, being able to just manage a team in general is a really good skill set, I think, in general of supply chain.
For me, I enjoy teamwork with my organization and my case team more than I do in the classroom. I think it's because of our dynamics and our commitment to all the things that we do. For example, we deal with more passenger side of it because we have to plan transportation. How are we going to get to these tour destination? How are we going to estimate or forecast how many people are going to attend? And that we are not overestimating because we're providing these transportation, and we have to calculate like what's the cost of bringing people there and how much we have to charge them so that they will show up, but at the same time it doesn't discourage them from participating. I think that's a really good part about transportation here, a really good lesson from what we do. And just like the case competition, being able to join different teams and learn from their expertise, their background. We all have different background knowledge and how we contribute to a case project, and we kind of critique each other so that we come up with the best solution for the business.
So the transportation intern for the Evans network of companies, work with the Port of Philadelphia. So I was a lot of container shipments actually. So I basically have to calculate the
music to my ears.
Exactly. Yeah. So kind of calculating the charges for that. I found out that they actually charge the customer transportation to the facility and back. So you have to bring the container back to the port. So we did that. Also the yard audit. So when we had the containers attached to one of the trucks, I had to go around make sure that the proper containers with the proper truck. That can be issued tomorrow morning if they leave with the wrong container. After that, I became a sales intern for Aero Truck Sales, which is a little unrelated, but I got to call truck drivers and kind of get to know truck drivers, kind of know what they value and within a truck, as well as what they kind of their daily looks like. I actually got to ride in the truck as well with the truck driver.
Oh wow!
So that was pretty nice as well. I then
made for some good photo ops.
Yeah, exactly. I then became a distribution operations intern for the TJX companies. So I worked in the Marshall's facility, distribution center. So I kind of just managing associates with all the language barriers and things that they have as well. Also, learning about shrink. So like when something in the facility gets lost or mishandled, now it's gone. Now we have to kind of charge the customer, but we don't actually have that pallet information. So we end up losing money in that sense. We end up losing the labor costs trying to find the missing pallet and things of that nature. So that was pretty good to hear as well, learning that. And also we had like 3 different shifts as well, kind of learning that each shift had their different priorities and different ways of operating things. So kind of having to mesh all 3 together to get on the same page was also interesting.
Mine isn't as elaborate as that. I don't think I can follow up with that. But
Still important nonetheless.
yeah. So I actually started at a company called Arkema. And I first was a credit specialist, so it had nothing to do with supply chain. It was my freshman year. I just wanted that real-world experience, kind of put my foot in the door. And there I was basically notifying our suppliers and vendors like, hey, you have credits due, you should pay them, type of stuff. And then I was also managing like their paperwork, so making sure that we had the correct paperwork so they could pay us. And then I returned at Arkema again on the data governance side of the supply chain, so it was very the forefront core part of the supply chain where if anything went wrong there, everything else was going down. Basically, data governance was we are the last line of defense between like fraud. So when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, if I make a mistake, we could like
stakes are high.
Yeah, like we could get like infiltrated basically. So my job was we were switching ERP systems, migrating information. So I took all of the supplier information. I called up our suppliers, asked for their updated information, and that was kind of a struggle because I was younger and they didn't want to give their personal information to me. I had to prove that I was interning there. So a lot of like customer relation skill sets, a lot of like getting over my fear of calling people, getting over my fear of like being yelled at, stuff like that, just managing a professional aspect in that realm. And then this past summer I got to intern with Wawa actually on their fresh channel side, so anything that dealt with the bakery items, the build to order like lettuce, tomato, onion stuff. That was an amazing experience because we also got to look at our suppliers like Taylor Farms as well as where they manufacture all of their teas and milks, being able to pull metrics out and see like our lead times, late driver metrics, overstocks, understocks, like being able to really analyze data and put it into a story was something that I learned there. So a lot of different kinds of experiences, I would say, from my internships, but they all, are collective. They're all transferable skills that I can use wherever.
Just like Rosie, I don't have a direct supply chain experience. I had 2 internships my sophomore year as a marketing intern. I interned with Tucker Company Worldwide. They are a third-party logistics and trucking. I came in as a marketing intern, but I kind of annoyed people in the operations side and the carrier side just so I can ask questions about how they deal with things, how when something doesn't seem right, how would they react and respond to those disruptions. And also I help with the customer experience side so that because they were building and improving their customer portal for visibility. And what I did was I contributed my my feedback as a consumer. Like, for example, this is not an intuitive experience. I have to like navigate through these different tabs to be able to get what I want. So how can we improve it and how can we upsell our service within that customer portal? And apart from that, in my experience, in my intern with America Royal, they're in the disposables industry, I asked the vice president of marketing as I first moved in there, I said, I am a supply chain major now. Can I please get on some projects with the supply chain team? I want the most exposure as I can getting out of here. So they put me on some of the projects with the supply chain team. I got on some calls when they talk about like sourcing from China, Vietnam, and I was on the project. So I helped them with the inbound logistics, just tracking different POs, and if these containers or these trucks if we can like wait like some time before we deliver it, or is it like an emergency that we have to push it forward? And I was able to find this one truck that went all the way to Mexico without anyone knowing. Because after I told them that they did an investigation, and it was like, wow, we didn't even know that. And now we know that there was a gap between their ERP system and their TMS system. And that was like a great experience.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll say some classroom. We take a class called data management. They kind of utilize AI and as well as like Microsoft applications to kind of get through our classwork, but not too much exposure to AI. Kind of just really that in that certain class. But most of like right now, my internship experience is kind of managing people, which a robot really can't do that yet. As well as my internship right now at 3PL, working with customers, and it's kind of I kind of see my more experienced people how they kind of learn their customer and are able to kind of whatever they're giving them an issue, not the correct information, they're able to kind of go back onto their background and history of the customer and fix it up. So I kind of saw the experience just knowing your customer and also being adaptable. Computer may not be able to give you the best pricing or know all the options available to you. So us having the background experience ourselves and knowing the customer, we're able to kind of give them what they need in that sense.
Well summarized.
I personally think like the industry is just starting to know about AI and how to implement it into supply chain. As far as like educational things for management information system minor, we do learn about Tableau, about turning data into like visualization. But in internships, actually, I introduced ChatGPT to my Wawa team. Because we also do a lot of customer service, so part of our process, I pitched a thing about using ChatGPT to come up with some like general customer service responses to general like issues that stores were having, and I think especially established companies like Wawa, they already are used to like the old way of like pen and paper and very like much. So doing everything manually, that it can be a bit of a challenge to persuade those people to change in using AI, and that it's not going to take over your job, but you know, like more so help and support your job. So I think in that aspect, like I was able to open up a new perspective of, hey, like that we could be, you know, using like Lean Six Sigma, like processing this, like using this, these steps and minimizing these steps and strategies to put more time into something else. And I think if we introduce it slowly, it could be a really, really great impact to the supply chain.
Talking about the use of AI, I think the exposure that I got was during my internship when I was helping them with the tracking of ocean freight and stuff. And it was on an Excel file that was updated daily with all the demand forecasting and all the containers that were already like here in America. And I was stunned. I literally, like, the first question I asked was, who created this? And how did they create it? Like, this is impossible for one person to create it. And they leveraged the use of predictive analytics to forecast demand for the entire year so that, and also like update the current demand so that we are not under stockouts, and so we can like plan ahead, because you know containers take a longer lead time to get here from China ports, and it was really great to see how they use predictive analytics in demand forecasting and demand planning, and also supply planning.
We have a great SODS department, which is like stands for. Remember what it stands for? SODS.
Statistics, Data Science, and Operations.
Yeah, so we have
It's a lot of words.
yes, we have a lot of support from them and our professors as far as getting contacts to speakers that we can kind of reach out to, things of that nature, and also funding us to go on events, things of that nature. So we also got sponsored to go to an event last week, Traffic Club of Philadelphia, Traffic Club of New York, which we went to an event. It was the annual dinner. So we got to meet a lot of other people and potentially speakers for next fall to come in as well. But yeah, we kind of I'm the director of outreach, so I kind of do all the outreach myself. And then they kind of tell me the plan for the semester, and I'll kind of go out there, search for people, and implement the plan and bring people to come here. So kind of our outreach, how our outreach goes. But yeah, pretty much.
Sounds like a good labor of love there.
Yep.
So as I said earlier, I joined when I was in my sophomore year as just a member, really not really knowing what supply chain was, and I committed myself to going to those Monday meetings with all different industries, all different types of speakers. And then I also involved myself in the mentorship program that we have here. It's an internal membership where I was paired with somebody in the executive board to kind of help me guide what I wanted to do, what internships I was looking for, like what connections I'm looking for, professionally wise, how to do like an elevator pitch, how to, you know, dress to an interview. And then I also did an external mentorship program. So I worked with somebody that formerly worked at the Coca-Cola manufacturing company.
Wow.
And I had expressed to him that I was going to be like the vice president of the upcoming year, and any advice of like managing a team, how to communicate with them, how often I should meet with them. So he really guided me in the sense of like real world situations of how you work with a team, how you manage a team, how you work with different personalities. And then now being as president, we have a lot of new initiatives of, you know, having that outlook of supply chain not just being transportation and logistics. It's not just transportation and logistics, it's procurement, it's marketing, it's consulting, like it's anything. So really trying to get a larger scale of exposure to everyone who doesn't know what supply chain is. Additionally, we do those tours. We do the Maersk tour. We're having that coming up. Going to the Philadelphia port, like being able to go to the Coca-Cola manufacturing place, like seeing real world situations and really immersifying our members and getting the value out of what we do is something that's really rewarding for me as well. Being able to see people even switch their majors to supply chain because they heard, you know, that it was like amazing and, you know, job security, you know, you have that flexibility as well. So I think overall, like the association as a whole has really come a far way. We're celebrating the 10-year major coming up this spring.
Wow. Of supply chain.
Yeah, of
Temple.
the supply chain
That's
major
incredible.
at Temple. So we really came a far way, and I think, you know, like future president right here.
Being groomed accordingly, right?
I really think that like we have amazing people that are committed to the supply chain, who are committed to immersing themselves, who are committed to helping others, and that's what really makes our association thrive.
Well said.
For me, running this organization with Rosie is like managing a small business. We have all sorts of stakeholders, our student members, our partnerships with the associations, and also the advisory board and the faculty here. But like as a business, we are very ambitious. We have this ambition to grow every year, and we so far have achieved great things. We have increased in our student members, student membership. We also had our branding out there, and we try to like position ourselves as the reliable and like the most engaged student professional in the area. And that's why all of us try to increase our visibility at different events, not just to develop those relationships, but to act as the liaison between all these companies that have the needs to recruit fresh graduates, and also us as the connection to refer those potential students to all of these hidden market jobs. And I love it. I feel like we've grown so far. I'm really proud of my team, and that we've grown so much to a point that we got so much sponsorship this year, especially with I think this year is our second year that we are sponsored by the Discover Summit to go to New York and participate in a 2-day summit talking about DEI in supply chain, also resilience. And that opens like doors for our students who haven't had a chance to connect with these like top executives. It's a great experience, guys. I'm so proud of my team, and all of these networking events and all of these like branding that associates with the organization and also ourselves make us stand out. And my internships, most of my internships are from referrals and from our branding as an organization.
Well said. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's a real grassroots effort there, and it's really encouraging to see it thrive and grow.
So perfect. My elevator speech is kind of
Put you on the spot.
yeah, kind of the shirt you have on. You know, it got manufactured overseas, got put on a container, put on a boat. That boat came to the port of Philadelphia. It got shipped by either rail or by truck to a mall or another store. You went to the store, picked it up, or you ordered it online, and went from the warehouse straight to your house. That's kind of the intro I give them as well. I'll talk about all the labor involved in that. So the people on the boat, like yourself, when you're in your seafarer, or the warehouse workers, or the terminal workers, you know, managing all those people, managing all the paperwork involved, the BOLs, the airway bills, all those things. That's kind of what supply chain is. That's what you'll be working with as well. I also talk about some procurement and kind of finding the ingredients and material for your shirt or things of that nature. That's kind of what I give them. But the biggest advice would definitely be to go and check out other majors as well. You know, the first 2 years going to be the basic classes, basic gen eds. So go check out a marketing class, go check out accounting, things of that nature. Really find what you like and find your niche. If supply chain is for you, great. If it's not, something else, great as well. And even if you want to do music instead, you know, you might change the whole career path in 1 year, do music or law. You know, just kind of go out there, get exposure to the resources we have available in the first 2 years. When it comes to junior year, it's kind of time to pick something and lock in. So
There's such a great patience that you can afford with that decision-making process early on in your undergraduate career.
Yes, exactly.
For me, mine is more straightforward. If you want a lot of opportunity, if you want job stability, if you want good money, supply chain is the way to go. Like, it's never going away. I would say also, like, if you're not sure what you want to do, supply chain could be for you because there are so many outlets to supply chain. And again, like, supply chain can be combined with anything like marketing or international business or even MIS. So I think it's very versatile as well. So, and you don't even have to major in supply chain. We also have a minor offered. So I think if you are curious, if you are just willing to show up and figure out like what is supply chain, just look it up, see if it piques your interest, and then if it does, you know, follow our TU Supply Chain Association account on Instagram.
Oh, shout out there.
But no, I think really what it is just immerse yourself in the industry, figure out like, you know, the general basis of it, and if it does pique your interest, why not try it out? See if there is an association or a club that a college is offering. See if, you know, like if there's a study abroad option, you know, there could be international supply chain anywhere you go. So I think any interest, just try it out.
Can't go wrong with that advice.
I want to emphasize, it's not boring. It is not boring. It's not just trucking and drivers and roads. If you think that is because you haven't seen enough. That was how my mindset was, because I haven't seen enough until I went to all these organizations. There's so many verticals and horizontals you can get into by just having this thinking, this critical thinking and problem solving skill set. You can use it and leverage it in any industries, in any roles. And there's so many opportunities right there. And if you are someone who likes to travel like me, get into supply chain. I got the opportunity to travel and to expand my horizons so much from being in supply chain.
So another thank you to Byron, Rosie, and Ann for their time and their invigorating information relative to a student experience studying supply chain and logistics. We wish them the best in their future careers, and we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.